602 now boarding gate 10. All aboard, please.
Well, you all ready, Mr. Fisher? That's your flight they're calling.
Yes, sir.
Now, don't let this out of your hand. Not for one moment. When you get on the plane, keep it right in your seat.
I understand. About this plane, I never heard of this company.
Of course not. They charter a plane every once in a while when they have enough fares. It's unscheduled, but don't worry, it's a very good plane. Now, the ticket's in my name, Raleigh King. So if you talk to anybody on the plane, remember you're Mr. King.
Sure. I got it. When do I get my money?
You'll be met on the other end. Here's $100. You'll get the other $900 when you deliver the case.
Okay. Be sure they meet me, though. Diamond smuggling's a federal case.
You're being well paid. Don't get curious about the contents. Those locks have been tampered with. There'll be trouble on the other end.
Oh, look, Mr. King, I don't want no trouble. Believe me, I appreciate everything you've done for me. I'll deliver this stuff, don't worry.
Flight 602 now boarding gate 10. All aboard, please.
Unscheduled airliner had exploded and burned at takeoff at a Chicago airport. 10 persons were killed. It looked like a tragic accident until 7 days later, when the local office of the Civil Aeronautics Board called to ask our assistance. My name is Frank Ballinger, Detective Lieutenant, M Squad, a special detail of the Chicago Police. Colonel Arthur Donnell, regional investigator of the CAB, gave us a rundown on the case.
We gathered the wreckage together and assembled a mock-up. We now think the explosion was caused by a bomb. Here's a photograph. As you can see, the explosion's epicenter was aft.
You mean where the bomb went off?
That's correct, Lieutenant. The luggage compartment is forward. The bomb must have been carried aboard as hand luggage and kept in that seat there until it exploded.
Well, couldn't the explosion have been caused by a faulty fuel line or something like that?
No, we don't believe so. Now, this metal came from the immediate area of the explosion. Been fused by the heat. Under spectroscopic examination, we found traces of iron. Now, here's an enlargement of the fused mass. That dense shadow is the iron.
Couldn't that be part of the engine?
The ship was made of beryllium. The mass you see on the screen was the bomb's timer.
Anything else, Colonel?
Plenty. We checked out the passenger manifest and seat plan. Of the 4 passengers in the immediate explosion zone, 1 purchased $200,000 worth of flight insurance policies just before takeoff.
Oh.
His name was King, Raleigh King. We believe he intended to make the explosion look like an accident, cover up for suicide, which of course would have avoided his policies.
Well, that doesn't sound logical.
Suicides are seldom logical.
Well, who's the beneficiary of this, Mr. King?
His widow.
Did she make an identification?
Tentatively, she identified what little there was.
Have you checked into King's background or his wife's?
Not yet, Lieutenant. The plane crashed inside the city limits. It's our business to deal with the plane's crash. But 10 people died. And if there's murder involved,
That makes it our business.
we believe it's your business, Captain.
A large detail was assigned to check all recent sales of explosives in Chicago. I drove out to Bayshore Drive to talk to the widow of the suspected suicide.
He was a louse. I hated him, and I'm glad he's dead.
That's brutally frank, isn't it?
I suppose you'd like a thumbnail sketch of the late Raleigh King.
It may help.
Which side of the coin would you like? Devoted husband? The pillar of society that he pretended to be? With all the civic virtues?
On the other side.
He was a sniveling hypocrite.
How long have you been married, Mrs. King?
15 years.
Well, if you felt this way about him, why didn't you leave him?
Sick clings to sick, Lieutenant.
When was the last time you saw him?
About 10 days ago. He hasn't really lived here in weeks.
Did he tell you where he was going?
He never told me anything. He'd just come and go.
Was he depressed?
With his ego?
All right, what about his job?
He was the downtown manager of the famous finance company.
Do you have a photograph around that I could borrow?
Right over there. Help yourself. Keep it.
Would you say this is a good likeness of your husband?
That was him, such as he was.
What about his hobbies?
Well, he had a workshop down in the basement. You're welcome to take a look if you like.
You wouldn't happen to know the name of his dentist, would you?
Dentist? He didn't have a dentist. Plates, upper and lower. Oh, Lieutenant. You know, now that he's gone, I almost love him. Imagine him leaving me $200,000 insurance. When do I get the money?
That depends.
On what?
On whether he was killed accidentally, murdered, or whether he committed suicide. A thorough search of the King basement revealed nothing of importance, until I found a piece of cardboard carton that had evidently been burned. If the carton from which the scrap had come was so important to King that he had burned it, then it might be an important piece of evidence for us. I worked on the puzzle for several hours.
Well, you still at it?
Oh, yeah. Well, the first word was easy, Phoenix. But the GGTI. I don't know, you got any ideas?
Look, why don't you try putting the vowels in front and see what happens?
A-E-I-O-U.
Yeah.
A-G-G... Ag time? That doesn't make much sense.
No.
A-E-E... Phoenix, egg...
Egg timer. Phoenix egg timer. You know, it's one of those gadgets you wind up and set when you're boiling eggs, and when they're done, a bell rings.
Goes off like an alarm clock.
That's right.
Then King used that to set the bomb off.
Sure.
Well, at least we know that King made the bomb, but after talking to his wife, I'm sure that he didn't do it to make her a wealthy widow.
Of course not. Hey, Captain Gray. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, hold it. We'll be right down.
What's that?
Well, it could be a better motive for King killing himself. It was Joe Forbes and Bunko.
What's Forbes got to do with King?
What he called from the office of the famous finance company, King's employers.
Huh?
Well, it seems that after he blew himself up, they started checking his accounts. And he came up $150,000 short. So we better get down there and see what we can find out.
It was at least $150,000, they said. The accounts are still checking.
Well, how did he pull it off?
Phony registrations on cars that didn't exist. He used them as collateral on loans that he approved as manager.
Hell, he must have had some outside help. He couldn't have pulled this off by himself.
Yeah, we've got a line on a junk dealer told him the registrations.
Well, somebody in the office must have helped him, too.
We think his gal Friday was on there with him. She quit suddenly about 10 days ago. We have a warrant out on her now for questioning.
We got a few questions we'd like to ask her, too.
Okay, Forbes, I guess we'll just take a let her out. Thanks. Nothing here, all cleaned up.
There's nothing in these files either. I guess we're going to have to talk to the examiners. What's that, hair oil?
I don't know. Wow, it sure doesn't smell like it. Well, I'll have the lab boys take a look at it.
Yeah.
Lieutenant Ballinger speaking. Oh, yeah, put him on. Yeah, hello. Yeah? Oh, good. Would you send it up to M Squad right away, please? Thanks.
What was that?
Remember the cast we had made of King's Mouth?
Yeah.
They're sending him up to your office now.
Fine.
Captain. Afraid we're never going to get to talk to that secretary.
Well, how come, Forbes?
I checked with a roommate. Last week, the day the plane exploded, she suddenly announced she was leaving on a vacation.
With King?
I don't know, but she was on that plane all right. There's her name on the passenger manifest. Lola Bailey. She got it with the rest.
Well,
What do you think of this?
I think I'm going to go out and pick us up a suspect. All right, Mrs. King. You identified these as the remains of your husband, correct?
Yes,
And where is he now?
he's dead. He died in the crash.
Will you stop lying? Where is Raleigh King now?
He's dead. I don't understand.
Mrs. King, 10 people died in that plane, killed by a couple of conspirators, you and your husband.
But he's dead. I don't understand what you're talking about. You've got no right to talk to me like this.
All right, take a look at these. This is a dental cast of the man that was killed, the man that you identified as your husband. Now look at the teeth. And you yourself said that he had plates upper and lower. Now either you tell me where Raleigh King is right now, or I'm taking you down to the state's attorney's office and have you booked as an accessory to mass murder.
No! No!
I took Mrs. King down to M Squad. 4 hours later, she was both sober and truthful, but it wasn't much help in finding her husband.
Then you admit the body you identified was not that of your husband.
Yes.
Well, why did you lie about it?
Because for the first time in my life, I would have been free of him. Have some money.
Did you know about Lola Bailey?
Yes, I knew. She was a lot more than just his secretary.
Anything else you want to tell us?
I've told you everything I know.
All right, Mrs. King, I'll have the policewoman take you home.
You mean I can go?
Yeah.
Well, just a minute. Did you ever see your husband use this?
No, he used an electric shaver.
All right, thank you.
You take her home now.
Ballinger. Oh, yeah, he's right here.
Captain Gray. Yeah. Well, sure, it'll help. Yeah, I'll send him right down.
What's that?
Crime Lab came up with a pretty good lead.
On King?
No, on the John Doe who was killed in his place. He was wearing custom-made shoes from Rothschild's in Paris.
I'll check it out.
A badly burned shoe from the body was examined under ultraviolet light. It revealed not only the bootmaker's name, but the customer's private number. I put through a call to Interpol Paris. There was a 2-hour delay.
What use would I have for custom-made shoes, young man? I've been in this chair for past 30 years.
Well, I'm sorry, sir. I must have made a mistake.
Oh, what you got in that box?
Well, I thought it was one of your shoes.
Show me. I suppose you're looking for the owner?
Yes, sir.
Well, he's dead. This is my son's shoe. He died 6 months ago. Cars and liquor, they don't mix. You're a policeman, you must know that.
Yes, sir.
He's my only son. I gave all his clothes away, including his shoes.
Well, who did you give them to?
Oh, some mission takes care of paupers.
Do you remember the name of that mission?
Let's see. Sunset Mission on Madison, I believe.
All right, thank you, sir.
Oh, Lieutenant. How did you get them, my son's shoes?
Well, it's a rather long and complicated story, sir.
I've got time. Would you care to join me for some breakfast?
Well, I'll have a cup of coffee with you, sir.
Good. Would you mind calling Fuller? You gotta shout loud. He's deaf as a post.
Yes.
I arrived at the Sunset Mission a little before the lunch handout.
Let us now bow our heads in a moment of silent thanks for the food which we are about to receive. Okay, men, line up, and no shuttle. Good morning, Lieutenant. Our good friend Mr. Garden telephoned us that you'd be by. My name is Rogers.
Oh, I see.
Bob, this is my volunteer helper, Bob Gregory.
Mr. Gregory?
Lieutenant Bellinger of the police.
Did Mr. Garden tell you why I was coming by?
He said something about wanting to trace some article of clothing.
Yeah.
Well, that shouldn't be too difficult. Bob has been keeping our inventory lately.
Oh, good. Well, it's a badly burned shoe, brown suede, size 11D.
We got quite a few shoes from Mr. Garden. Bob, will you check the records?
Yes, they were given to a man named Fisher, but he's no longer with us.
Joe Fisher. Fortunately, he got a job in Florida. It was Florida, wasn't it, Bob?
I think so.
He left last Wednesday. Isn't that right, Bob? Yes, I remember. Wednesday. Just 2 days after you started here full time.
Oh, I see.
He said he'd drop us a card, but he won't.
Well, why not?
They never do once they leave.
Well, how long did he stay here?
2 months. Nice fellow. But drink was his trouble.
Mr. Rogers, what did he look like?
Pretty hard to describe. A rather ordinary sort of person. About Bob's build. Maybe a bit thinner.
Did he leave any personal effects behind?
Well, we can check. What's his locker number, Bob?
21. This way, please.
Lieutenant?
Thank you. I'm going to have to take these along with me, Mr. Rogers.
I hope Joe hasn't gotten himself into any serious trouble, Lieutenant.
I'm afraid he's gone and got himself murdered.
Murdered? How?
By carrying a bomb on a plane.
Excuse me.
Mr. Gregory, how long have you been in this work?
Oh, on and off for years.
Have you ever run across a man by the name of Mr. Raleigh King?
No, the name's not familiar. What did he look like?
Well, I have a photograph of him here.
Sorry.
The shoes found in Joe Fisher's locker were traced to a local store.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. Raleigh King's definitely alive. So he hires this Skid Row character by the name of Joe Fisher to take his place on that plane, using his ticket and carrying his briefcase with a bomb in it.
Yeah, we'll get him sooner or later. Can't hide out forever, you know, with everybody in the country looking for him.
Well, don't forget that he knocked over that finance company for $150,000. You can buy a lot of hiding for that kind of dough.
I don't get this, Frank. What do the shoes got to do with it?
Well, King probably gave him his clothes and shoes to make positive identification. But the shoes were too tight, so this character switched. Ballinger. Oh, yeah. Yeah, the bottle I found. What about it? Yeah. Hair and lace? Oh, I see. Okay, thanks a lot, Art.
What was that?
Remember that little bottle I found in King's medicine cabinet?
Yeah.
It's spirit gum, used for gluing on hair pieces and toupees.
This guy's got lots of hair.
The lab report says there's traces of human hair and lace in that bottle. Now, what's a guy with a lot of hair doing with a bottle of spirit gum, a straight razor, and a toupee?
Yeah.
Graphic arts?
Yeah, it's Captain Gray. Would you send a man up here with an airbrush? Right.
Okay, what I want you to do is just take off the top of the hair, leave the sides out here. Okay, that's good. Now get the glasses. Yeah. Now the mustache.
You know this guy, Frank?
Sure, it's Bob Gregory, Mr. Rogers' little helper down at the mission.
You mean you saw King at that mission?
That's right. He's probably hiding out down there till things cool off. You know, he must have worked this thing out for weeks. Down at the mission, he's Bob Gregory with no hair, no glasses, no mustache. And back at the finance company, he was Raleigh King with the hairpiece, the glasses, and the mustache. And he looked just like he always had.
Sure. You better get hold of that guy at the mission.
All right.
Where are you going, Bob?
Oh, I got a call. It's urgent.
Oh, I hope it's nothing serious.
No, I'll be back tomorrow.
Well, if there's anything, just telephone.
Thank you.
Sunset Mission? Yes, Lieutenant, speaking. What? Well, he just left. Hold on just a moment. I'll see if I can catch him. Lieutenant? He just left. Just drove away in a cab. Yes. But I made sure to get the license number, if that'll be any help.
Flight 136, passengers may now board plane at Gate 4. Flight 136, passengers may now board plane at Gate 4.
You better make that policy out to somebody you really want to have the money. Because this time you're going to be in the death seat. Now let's go. Come on. King had worked out what he thought was a perfect crime. He'd sent another man to his death in his place, expecting to live to enjoy the $150,000 he'd stolen. He also destroyed Lola Bailey, his secretary and accomplice, in the same mass murder. King was convicted by a Chicago jury and executed for murder in the first degree.